Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about Ssangsu Geombup ship Iban, Form 12, Section 1, Part 2. Having just seen what we're going to be talking about in this section, right? You can imagine I'm going to be wearing essentially two major hats, right? So one hat is going to be full yay, right? The very beginning of this section is one that I'm quite excited for, and it's one of the more basic movements, but something that I really enjoy. I'm also going to be wearing the critiques hat, right? So a critic's hat. Where there's things that I see what they're doing, but I have my own spin on it and understanding why they might be doing these things, right? So if you kind of like cut that middle part in half, you can probably see the exact point at which I was like, this is the next move, we're going to go with it. But let's talk about it, right? So the section that I'm most excited for in part 1 was the very beginning part that we saw here, right? So one reason I enjoy, let's just do it, right? Let's do it, right? So from here, from our kind of twisted position here, we're going to keep the sword relative to the room where it is. I'm going to sweep my body around it. I'm going to use my hip, use my knee, use my shoulder to drive into a nice, powerful strike. Now remember, this is an interpretation of the Ssangsu section of the Mu de Batonji, right? So this is meant to be a much longer, heavier weapon than this wee little lad, right? So although this one is a little bit longer than usual, it would be essentially from here to the ground, something like that. So it's a much longer weapon, right? So remember, as such, I'm about to say something that I'm going to have to regret a little bit. As such, there are moves that make sense for a longer, heavier weapon, and there are moves that just don't as much. One of them being center cuts, right? So having a really long weapon like this, being able to pull that weapon up, throw it back down, pull it up, throw it back down. Can you do it? Yes. Is it the most effective use of the weapon that I've found? Meh. Right? So, but this is the section where I'm giddy whenever I get to do this form, right? So from here, again, relative to the room, again, long, heavy weapon, I'm going to use a longer, heavier weapon soon, so long as I don't destroy anything in the room. That'll be good. So from here, I'm going to wrap my body around it and then throw that strike. Now, obviously, I didn't just do what the form is doing, but the idea is you can really whip that sword around to generate a lot of good, powerful momentum. Not only is it good for striking, an opponent down, because you can imagine all of that momentum being thrown into a single strike. If there's multiple people, the first one is gonna eat that shot, and it's gonna be bad for them, right? Granted, second, third, whatever, significantly less power, probably like, if I had to throw a number arbitrarily and unscientifically, I would assume like 20% of that initial impact goes on to the next person and then next to nothing after that. But the idea is no one wants to be that one person to eat that shot. So having that momentum to throw is awesome. What about that momentum though? So from the thrower's perspective, so I'm throwing a massive strike out there, I need to be able to retract it, right? So it is often said that this next motion, again, here or here, however you want to do it, is meant to be a block. I find very unlikely. Again, I think we may have talked about this before, because if I'm here, notice my hand is like on the meat of my palm, if I receive any strike whatsoever, right hand's fine, it's cool. Left hand, right? Left hand, not having a good time. So this would almost certainly destroy my hand. That's my left hand, which I need for my pinky ring middle for a nice powerful strike. So very unlikely I'm actually using this as an actual guard. Again, this is a personal interpretation. Don't try to insinuate this is what everyone thinks, right? But it is an excellent place to regather your power, right? So if we're here, just a natural killing momentum into a position of strength. Again, I can use this to aim the tip towards my opponent. The next move I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but later in the form, we literally just hold this position just to get back into another position of strength. So I think this is a really excellent place to kill the extra momentum and still be able to move to another position. This is one reason I love teaching here, right? We get to have fun guys like this. And obviously, even this one is long for a Ssangsu Gum, right? However, the theory behind it is going to be still true. I'm going to do my best not to destroy anything on camera, and if I do, there might be a jump cut and there's a lot of things missing. But so the theory behind this, and hopefully things are going to be mostly in frame. So even with a long, at the very least long, like this is heavier than obviously katana, right? But from here, being able, we'll find out how this works, right? From here, being able to, first of all, note in Pao Sung Se, I can hold this all day long, versus if I'm here, this is going to get tiresome after a while, right? So again, just holding this nice position nice and high, hint for later, I can do this all day, right? From here, notice there's a little bit of a jump cut, but from here, I'm gonna, again, I can hold this all day long in this position, spinning through, nice big arcing momentum into some position of strength. Again, theoretically, if I want to, I could use this to stabbies. I could use it, theoretically, pop up. But, again, the ability to spin around that object is going to be a lot of fun. That was also me being a little bit nice because I wasn't sure about my distance. But again, from here, again, upright, really nice for this very long weapon. Spin around, up, whoop, reposition. It can bring it back in here, right? Notice, if I actually did do the full proper one this way, I could stop momentum here and then move in, right? So fun little things that way. So keep in mind, I'm also really trying not to damage anything, but that's the theory behind this motion. However, at least my personal theory for that motion, the next motion, right, that pop-up, spin, cut. This is, again, critical hat, right? Not critical roll, right? As awesome as it is. Not critical roll, but critical hat is why, right? So theoretically, if I really want to do a bunch of center cuts, you can tell even from here, I'm also trying not to hit the ceiling, which I can't. I can do without hitting it. Very unwieldy, right? Probably very inaccurate by the time it actually comes down. They're just moving out of the way. Again, this is a very, I can't go this way because there are cables there, but this is going to be the very awkward video. But notice, even me trying to throw it relatively controlled but also fast is a slow cut. You're very likely just to get out of the way, right? Especially for something so narrow, I could just dip one way or the other. Versus that big cross cut, you have to get really out of the way and try to gun it back in to stop me. However, the theory that I like, that I'm interpolating from this, right? So we're in, again, this position of strength. Again, you can have this full position if you want. But from here, remember that a position for a very long weapon like this is just vertical, which looks silly, but in terms of balance and being able to move around that weapon, it's really good for this. This is going to be in part 3 as well. So from here, if I pop up almost vertical, I can essentially move. Notice this is one-handed. I can move however the more vertical it was, the easier it was to do. I can move around that position very easily. So in theory, if I wanted to spin and do a center cut, vertical, move, grab, and then throw cut. Now, just to complete that section, we're going to be doing a right cut, left cut, and center cut with alternating right-left foots, right? But the aspect that I want you to take home from that, right, is the ability or the thought of your body moving around the sword to do what you want it to do for a longer weapon, like not like this one, but a long weapon. This just happens to be one of the longest ones I have on hand, right? So I guess with that, I should probably bring back the sword, right? But I want you to think about that, right? So unlike previous Ssangsu forms where I can essentially dominate the sword a little bit more, this is very much a form that you have to obey the weapon much more. So let's take it from the top, right? From here, we're going to do our spin, cross, again, reset, again, just getting position the strength again. Critical hat. Popping up, because I apparently want to spin in order to strike this person. I'm going to spin, cuts, 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 and we're going to turn. Now this section I really like, right? So notice most of our strikes don't necessarily lend themselves to be finishers. I'm going to use that word very nicely, right? Finishers. So you've just maimed folk on the way. You're allegedly going to try to finish them off on the way back. Again, my reasoning for all these things, right? So from here, you're going to cross cut, allegedly maybe jump over the person you just cut if they've crumpled. Here, again, you're going to check behind you. Then this is the main emphasis, is that's still a fresh horde of people that way. Going to finish off another person. Again, maintaining heavy eye contact, don't move forward like this. It's going to be 3 going backwards. 1 more. You're going to check, and we're going to be ending up in something called right wing. So this is my wing, is on the right side. Cool. Right. We've already talked about left wing with regard to Form 11, right? But this is our right wing position, which is going to be very popular in this form. So that's our spinning section. So that's the very end of part 1. Again, this form is broken up very neatly into 4 parts. That is the end of that one, right? My apologies for that weird cutaway. I had to cough, and I'm still a little bit under the weather, and my brain stopped, but my mouth kept going, which is the way that I live my life. So that's how we're playing with that. But a few extra things at the end as well, right? So obviously this is the end of section 1. The form is naturally broken down into 4 parts. Again, because I know this is a refilm of section 2 that I lost all that footage. I know that section 1 obviously is 2 parts. Section 2 is 2 parts. But again, section 3 and 4 are individually 1 apiece. But in addition to that, right, so if you check in the description, I've actually updated a few things there as well. So there's a website that I had next to nothing to do with, but there is something for the Pan America, right? So this is from the Federation, and this is a Federation thing, but is a school locator, right? So as much as I know it is fun to learn from a random YouTuber on the YouTubes, I highly recommend take a look. We have 2 websites. We have one that's specifically East Coast. We have one that is more Pan America. I haven't actually checked to see if it's outside the US, which it should be if it's Pan America, but I haven't checked. But I want you to be able to, again, find local people to train with, right? So as much as it's fun to be able to talk about this, it's even more fun to be able to do it in person, right? So check the I was going to say doobly-doo because John Green, all fun stuff. But check the description. We have that website going. And I want you to be able to find people that you can actively train with. In addition to that, I think we usually try to also have like updated like events and stuff like that. So if there is a big seminar coming along, ideally that is also an excellent place for you to check it out and see where, again, other masters are training. So you can actually, and often like when we do have these seminars, there's also a student aspect. So if you are new to it, or if you're like, hey man, like I've never taken class before, but I really want to have a look, very, very often there's a student seminar that will be open to essentially most people. So I recommend you take a look at that. But with that, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, keep training, and don't get sick.